That's what you do. You buy these players that cost me and make a difference in it. But we never do that.
Never complains, gets up, gets on, with a smile on his face.
You just want you to sit in your chair and go, hip hip hooray, to the Western press and the Western narrative, regurgitating the same old, every single day, without the truth. If you haven't seen it before, please watch the first two episodes, the second season.
We are on the site of the castle.
And it was the first time the Beatles had really stopped being semi-professional almost.
Look at that.
Absolutely fascinating.
Good evening, everyone. You know what? I fell asleep, And anyway, I got and I went, jumped down here and started at 7 o'clock. And I didn't, do you know why? Simple way. I never put my watch forward. Put my clocks forward, that I've got. Put them forward, forgot my watch. So I thought it was just nuts, just nuts. Anyway, I'm back here now. I had to get Jason to set it all up here. Shows you, doesn't it? But anyway, that's it. Anyway, thanks for being with me tonight. And Christopher, hi Frank and everyone. Like and subscribe. Let's get Frank to 1,000, 1K. That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you. I think people, they just like it once and they think that's all right. And it's not, You've got to like when you come on. You've got to like every show. Every show that is it. Whether it's current affairs, whether it's this, whether it's the football pods, which will be on tomorrow night, by the way, the pre-match. So just like it all the time, if you don't mind. And you might find yourself unsubscribed, because that's what YouTube does. You unsubscribe people for some reason. Anyway, just have a look. If you haven't subscribed, for top, just subscribe again. Get the algorithm up there, as they say. Trent the rat. Francolini. Antolini. And he carries on by saying, this is Darryl, by the way. Hit the likes, everyone. Thank you, Darryl, and thank you, Christopher. The lovely Lynn, he's got a bad back, unfortunately. Even if Frank, hope you're all well. Yep, I'm okay. I think I am, anyway. And the mince pie man, Tony, LFC. Hello, Frankie. There's me beer there. And Darryl says, Frank was snoring away then thought, it's the history show. True that. And I don't think I've got me little thing up for gap painting services. So I'll just say it. Gap painting services is the Frank Carlyle sponsor. And honestly, if you're NHS worker, if you're an elderly person, get them in because you get special discounts. Don't struggle. Please do not struggle. That's the worst thing you can do, is to struggle trying to decorate. So get them in. Get them in, please. And tonight, I've got my ear up with the great artist, the celebrated artist, actually. He's not just like a good friend of mine. He's a celebrated artist in his own right. One of Liverpool's greats. And that's Arthur Askew. Yes, it's not Anthony, it's Arthur Askew, to be honest, because he's 183 years of age, you see, Anthony. He's got that mask on, he's got like another mask. It's not it. No, it's Anthony himself, so I'll be bringing him on in a moment. And that's just after, thanking the wonderful Gap Painting Services for sponsoring the Frank Carlyle show. So that's it, that's it. And I'll tell you, I'll be talking about a little bit later on. There's this fella. Him. Be talking about him. And everyone thinks that, he's a bad dude. Yeah. I'll just talk about him later. Okay. Thanks for joining me anyway, everyone. And I'm going to bring me a little Loppo lamp. The great Anthony. There he is. Good evening, Anthony.
Good evening, Francis.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm nearly sniff free. Yeah.
Do you know what? I can't get you on. Hang on a minute.
That's all right.
I'll get you on now. Don't worry. I'm brilliant at doing this, I think. I don't know how to get you on. This is madness.
There I am.
And there I am.
And there you are.
See, Jason isn't with us tonight, unfortunately. He's got to be somewhere. And see the way I worked that out?
Absolutely fantastic.
I don't need him. Don't need him anymore. Don't need the producer anymore. I'm only kidding, Jason, just in case you're out.
He's not
well,
only...
At least I got it from.
He's telepathic.
Yes. He's... When I went on it before, and I had to come off it right away. And I had to come off it right away because I realised, it's 8 o'clock it was 8 o'clock by my watch, and I forgot. And I thought, no, I haven't put it forward because I never wore it yesterday at all. You see. Anyway, I said to Jason, sent him a message, and he was on his way out. He said, "It's all right, don't worry, I'll set it up again because I can't set the bloody thing up."
Thanks, Jace.
And Darryl says, "Evening, Anthony, the goat of art." How about that?
Evening, Darryl. Thank you so much.
The goat of art. That means the greatest, And Christopher, it's a magic show. You keep vanishing, Frank.
Yeah.
And Anthony was playing peekaboo with me.
I was nearly back in the cupboard.
It just shows you, doesn't it? Like things do go wrong, and it's not straightforward, especially like if you haven't got your producer behind you. And good job I got hold of good job I got hold of Jason and said, listen, Jason, I started and, I had to come off it, but I've got to set it up again. And he said, no problem, So made up it. Just a great fella. But I want to carry on from last week, if I might. And it's about architecture. I never finished it all.
It was
when you actually look at that, that waterfront there, forget the museum and forget those black granite things behind it. I don't like them. I really don't. And but when you look at that waterfront, and do you know what, Anthony? The landing stage at the time, it was half a mile long. Lots of people don't know that or didn't realise it. That it was half a mile long, and it was the longest landing stage in the world. The longest. So anyway, when that was done, it was absolutely wonderful. It really was, and it was all modern structure. Everything was modern, and then the buildings started to go up, and the first one was the Port of Liverpool building, Sir Arnold Thornley, the one with the dome there, and that went up in 1907. And the second one to go up was the Liver building. The Liver building. And when that went up, that went up in 1911. It opened its doors 1911, and the beds was made by a German sculptor by the name of Carl Bernhard Bartels.
Yeah.
And when he put it up, put the beds up, he put them up in 1912. And we celebrated it, in 2012, the 100 years. And the Bartels family came over from Germany to celebrate the 100 years, the centenary. And a smashing family. They really were a smashing family. So, it was a great day. But you know what, Anthony, about the building itself? It was the first skyscraper in the whole of the country. And it was the very first as well steel infrastructure. A steel infrastructure embossed in concrete. And that's, people just say, it's a great building. Of course it's a great building.
Cheers.
It's an iconic building that represents Liverpool. Forget all the other buildings. That represents Liverpool, because when you're coming down the Mersey, when you're travelling, on the ships, that's what greets you. The Liver building with the beds.
Absolutely. That is the greatest piece of art this city could offer. Beautiful building. And
well, you've got to look at W. Aubrey Thomas, the actual designer. He was such a wonderful architect. And he said, I'm going to do something different here. Forget the iron. So he did the steel infrastructure. And the Americans copied it. And the Chinese, incidentally, I think it's in Shanghai, they copied, pity Jason wasn't here, he'd have it up. They copied a building similar to it on their waterfront.
Yeah, I remember seeing, we talked about this, I think, about a year or so ago, and Jason got this. Yeah, it was quite shocking to see, really. But that's what happens. If you produce something worthy, then someone will nick it or do a version of it. Well,
come along and look at it and copy it.
Yeah.
which is great. We've got loads of buildings that are, have been copied. It's like the Flatiron, believe it or not, the corner of Church Street and Hanover Street. That's the Flatiron by
Yeah.
Gerald de Courcy Fraser,
Of
and that was
course.
copied there on a much larger scale in New York. Their Flatiron.
Yeah.
So you do have a lot of um, around the world, copying these wonderful things, but especially America, they copied the steel infrastructure.
Well, that fits in with what you were saying last week and what you talked about before about the links between Liverpool and New York.
Yeah,
And it's hard to imagine now in the days of we can be on a plane now and we can be in New York in a few hours. Then it
yeah,
was boat. But because we had such a majestic port forever, for eternity, then that trip was made by architects, designers, um, property owners, builders, and and the ideas that they saw here were totally fresh in their minds when they got off the boat in New
yeah.
York.
That's right. That's right. But just imagine getting off at Shanghai and seeing, a replica of the Liver building without the birds on top, by the way.
Yeah,
And you see it, you go, wow, it's just,
yeah. Absolutely.
there are
Talk
so
about
many,
yeah,
there are so many buildings at me, the reminiscence of um, Liverpool abroad,
yeah,
believe it or not. And when you look at that again, now what you've got, I think I showed this last week. I'm not so sure, but I'll do it again. What you've got there is the Tower building. Now the Tower building with all the white, the stone there, it's beautiful, and it's
yeah,
self-cleaning stone. So when it
yeah,
rains, you know, it's all. See, if we had an old picture of the Liver building and the Cunard building, for example, that was
oh,
the last one to go up.
yeah,
That was in two architects by the name of Villing and Pignesi, and they designed a beautiful build, beautiful. The and show people, you know, a look at it at a certain angle, and what you see, believe it or not, is the bow of a ship. When you actually look at it, you can't see it when
yeah,
the way you just look around. But I bring people, and I just say, I stand there. And when they look at it, they go, wow, it's good to even know that because you see it
brilliant.
going like this.
I mean, the tower buildings, that's one of the oldest buildings we've got in the city, haven't we?
Yeah,
When Liverpool was far scaled down and we had the castle
yeah.
and the tower building in its original form came, and then obviously St. Nick's Church, which we love.
Well, the St. Nick's has been there since for hundreds of years, the site of, you can go back to, believe it or not, the site of it. I'm saying this approximately 12, 1240 or something like that.
Yeah,
1240, the site. And it's got a great history as St. Nick's Church because what you're actually, when you're looking at it now and you see the tower, that went up in 1815 by a fellow named Harrison because the original tower, the bell ringer, for the service, he was ringing the bell and it collapsed because it was a very heavy bell and it just collapsed. And it killed the bell ringer. Not only killed him, but it killed 14 young kids from a charity school.
tragedy.
Yeah,
Just
so it's got a great history. And when you actually see the tower itself today, and you see a ship on top of it, and that
yeah,
weathervane, the ship is called the Donnelly. Now, the Donnelly was owned by a fella named Donnelly, and he said to the church, he said, "Can I have a weathervane up there?" He said, "I'll get it made and call it the Donnelly." And he said, "Yeah, okay, okay." Now, the Donnelly went down. It was a tobacco ship, and it went down and lost. All the lives were lost. So we wanted to immortalise the Donnelly and the crew. So they said, yeah, so that went up. And do you ever remember the saying, Anthony? And it used to be, I got told this every week, you know what I mean? And what I mean is, when you go to your grandmother or anything like that, and you go,
yeah,
lends a fiver because you wanted to go out, or lends £2 to go out.
yeah,
And, you hear a little voice saying, you won't get that back until the Donnelly docks, meaning that it'll never dock.
wow,
You'll get it back when the Donnelly docks. In other words, don't lend them it, So great sayings come from that particular weathervane.
yeah, wow. I did some work in the building, which is set back. It's a modern building. Um, Liverpool Football Club have got their offices and stuff in it on one of the top floors, and I got some shots of St Nick's and the Liver building, but aerial shots. Architecturally, it's absolutely beautiful. And I didn't know we were going to talk about this. I'd sent them through to Jason, but I will do on another show. But
Yeah,
it's just these buildings are acclaimed because they are the best, because they look brilliant in any direction, any weather, wherever you are looking at them from above, from below.
do you know what? You're spot on there, honest, don't you? You're spot on. Because when you look at any building, in Liverpool, you've only got to look at that particular picture. And it was the same, as I said about Tower Building. And when you look at it from, say, like outside the Liver building, and you're looking up
Yeah,
on the strand, you're looking up at it, it's got three towers. And
yeah,
they're the three towers that represent the three towers that was built on the site. You know what I mean? And the
yeah,
likes of the French prisoners of war in the first tower building were prisoners of war, that the French from the Napoleonic Wars.
wow.
It's incredible,
It is.
absolutely incredible. That particular first tower. Then that came down, and then they built another one by Sir James Picton. He designed a second one, and then that came down for this one, the third one. So that's why you have three towers to represent the three towers going way back, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
It's incredible history, not just because of we've got a great history, Liverpool, but it never gets mentioned, unfortunately. But what you have a great history with the buildings themselves.
yeah, yeah.
And you've only got to look at W. Aubrey Thomas, who designed both buildings.
Just, just absolutely uh, amazing. It's and to think that in our maritime greatness in the 1800s, late 1700s, that tower building would have been visible to
Yeah,
all ships coming in, wouldn't it?
yeah. it's.
And there we
I
have,
wish-
there we have greatness, indeed.
I'll just see what the lads have been saying. Lee Johnson, good evening. Like the background picture, how much of it is left in Liverpool? My guess, not much. You're talking about,
The
just
map.
let me take this off. You're talking about, let me add me. No. You're talking about the castle, aren't you? Just a couple here. I've gone again, haven't I? Let's just get me up. You're talking about that, aren't you?
Yeah.
Right. That's what you're talking about, the castle. You're talking about the.
And that map too is fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
It
It
is.
is so much.
It is. I'm going.
You're going dizzy, aren't you?
I lost you again. Can I I'm sorry about this. This is the beautiful Joe. Hang on a minute, please. Hiya, Joe. I'm okay. I'm actually I'm broadcasting live. I've got my show. I've got my. So you're all over the place here.
Let's touch base tomorrow.
Yeah, touch base with me tomorrow, Joe. Okay.
All right, big hugs.
Do you know what? Everyone's listening to you because I've got you on
All right,
loudspeaker.
well, you know what? Peace and love.
Hi,
And,
Joe.
let's win the Premiership, right?
Just tell them where you're ringing from.
I'm ringing from Los Angeles, and yeah, I want to move to a happier state. But you know what? I don't think there's any state in America that's sane anymore. And I was hoping Liverpool was, but now I know different.
Listen to me. Tell me when you want to Zoom, and I'll have a Zoom talk with you. You know, that's
You
very
got it.
important. Okay, let me
Have a
know.
great show.
Oh, thank you, Joe. See you later, Joe. You take
Bye.
care. Love you.
Well, who's trying to say hello to me?
Yeah, Anthony.
All right,
Yeah.
Anthony. I'll bring in my Scouse accent. How you doing?
Oh,
Oh, well, peace and love. We'll talk soon.
Talk soon. Ta-ra, Joe. See
Bye.
you later. Bye-bye now.
Honey.
Bye-bye.
Honey.
See you later. Enjoy yourself over there, you know, tonight
I
and
will,
all
I
and
will.
whatever.
Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah, listen, we'll talk. Tell me when you want to Zoom and we'll talk, okay?
You got it. Sorry for interrupting.
No, anytime, Joe. Love you, honestly. See you
All right.
later. Bye-bye.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.
wow.
She's lovely, Joe.
Joe's
Yeah.
been on the show a couple of times, was he?
Yeah, she used to be my Hollywood correspondent.
And she runs a boat business.
Yes, she's got her own yacht.
Yeah, she was lovely. I had the pleasure of meeting on the show with you a while
Yeah,
ago.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. She said to me, I've bought a new car, you know. And I said, oh, okay then. Anyway, she showed me the car. There was an MG, an
Wow.
MG Sports.
Wow.
She looked
Oh,
like Jane Bond in it, you know. Not James Bond, but Jane Bond. She's
yeah.
But,
My-
you know, she said to me, come over. She said, and spend a few weeks.
in the early 70s.
Yeah.
And he used to take me and my two cousins who were similar age when we were kids out. But because of the size of them, we all sat on the back, not quite above the back seat, and he would drive around Kirby and then into town, and we'd be on it. My mother used to go berserk.
As mothers do. Yeah. Well,
One of them would be off.
well anyway. Let's get back to this. It's gone mad. But anyway, Lee Jansen says, good evening. Like the background picture. How much of it left? The ruins of it is underneath more or less Victoria's monument.
Tunnels, yeah.
That's what's left of it, Lee. My guess, not that much.
No.
You're right, not that much, but at least it's still there. And Christopher, they have tried to make buildings look like a ship. That might be me, though, but I don't like what they have done. They have tried to make buildings look like it. Oh, you're talking about the black granite buildings.
And the last building.
That was disgusting. That was disgusting, man. Really was. The black and white boy. Evening Gold, love a history show. Well, stay with us. You're going to like this one. I promise. Gary Rigby. Evening, everyone. Evening, Gary. And evening, black and white boy. I'm sorry. And Gary says, as I look at the Book of Fountain today, it's in a terrible state. Can't someone... Never did. It's no use us, you know.
No one takes responsibility, do they?
No.
I know
Go on, Stuart. Go on.
different subject, but the Melly Fountain, which I drew all them years ago, which is on what was Barham Street by Holy Cross School, that is taken care of, and the school, the junior school, have taken guardianship of it. They look after it. So that's kind of what I think we need to do, really. I know there's not many businesses per se around the bucket fountain, but there's got to be someone to say, we'll put in a few £100 every so often, get it cleaned, get it looked after.
Yeah, but
the council are doing nothing.
Look, you know the fountain that was in Williamson Square?
Yeah.
Now, what people don't realise is this. There's a poem around it, by the way.
Yeah.
There's a poem that, a few people did, and I was asked to write a line with one of our great poets. You know the famous three.
Was that Roger McGough? No?
Roger McGough. That's just Roger McGough. I'm losing it, But anyway, Roger, will you do a line? I said, yeah, sure. So what is a line? I said something about the castle. And on the site of the castle, have you heard me say that? I hate that. Do you want to come on? Now we're on the site of the castle. Oh, blimey. But anyway, what has happened was, I said, yes, sure. Now, where's the crux of it? The fountain itself, the water.
Yeah.
The water actually came from the pool, because the pool is still under Whitechapel.
Yeah.
And running into, like the bottom of St. John's Gardens.
Yeah.
That's where it still goes right along, Paradise Street, and underneath Shivas Park, right into the Mersey.
Wow,
and that's the original water. Yeah. And they stopped it because of maintenance. Have you ever known that, Alex?
No.
So that's why, that doesn't work anymore. And it used to be great, like when I used to walk through Williamson Square, you see these little mad kids, running through, getting wet, and they were made up in the summer. Got nothing like that now. Nothing.
Just beautiful to see.
Yeah. And so the bucket funny enough, like where the bucket thing is, that's Drury Lane, right?
Yeah.
And Drury Lane as a theatre.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first theatres in Liverpool. One of the first, I think it was the first actually. And it was named after the theatre in Drury Lane, London.
Yeah. Wow.
See, not many people know that. And not many people just walk. They don't even know it's Drury Lane. Drury Lane. And they say, not the one in the background, not the castle, the one in the background. Oh, you mean that big one? Yeah, what it is, Lee, I had that up. I had it up a while back, and I was pointing out things on it. It's a big, massive map. It's a big, massive map, and I had things, I was pointing out things. And say, like, for example, if you can't see it, you know, it's right below Anthony, and it's more or less in the corner, and it's the church of St. Luke's, which is now the bombed out church. So there's things like that that are pointed out, and it was good because I could move the map, you see. And I was like, I'll do that one time, Lee, I'll do it. I'll do that again because people enjoyed it, pointing out things from the past. And he carries on by saying, Albert Dock amazed me as a photo was posted on Facey. Just all sand and damage. Today, excuse me, today, the Albert Dock looks pretty much the same, but massive improvements over the years.
Yeah.
What you're thinking of, Lee, they were going to knock it down, believe it or not. They were going to demolish it. Now, we don't like the Tories, right? But there's one Tory we've got to thank, and that was Michael Heseltine. He saved it.
Yeah.
And he got all the funding and everything to do it up. When he was minister, he was demoted by Thatcher because of what had happened. We were selling off our helicopters. We made great helicopters, Westland, and Thatcher sold them to America. Sold everything to America. And he resigned over it. He was saying, don't sell it, don't sell it, don't sell it. Even when it was rumoured that she was going to sell, and she did. And he walked out. And Thatcher doesn't like anyone who walks out. And the unfortunate thing was for Michael Heseltine, but fortunate for us, she sacked him from his top job. And she gave him the anonymous title of Minister of Merseyside. She demoted him because you know what she felt about Liverpool. And he saved it. He saved it. So, you know, go for it.
Yeah.
And Gary says, I don't like Williamson Square fountain, to be honest. Well, that's the way, you see, it's the history behind it. That's what you've got to look at. I liked it. I thought it was a great idea. You had these little mad kids all running and they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Kids enjoyed it. People enjoyed it as well. But the historical thing is, who's seen the pool? Who's actually seen the water from the pool? And when that was built, and it's the first time since the building of the castle at the pool.
Wow.
Think about it. It's the first time since the English Civil War. And we've seen the water.
I think, and I could be romanticizing this thing, but I loved it because it was a public area where people met, sat on the bench, the kids played. There's restaurants, coffee shops, and things there.
A couple of pubs as well where you could sit outside. I'm talking about the summer and have a drink.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it wasn't on like our evening. It came on like, around 9 o'clock in the morning. That's when it came on. It stayed on until like very early evening. Around tea time it went on.
Yeah.
I liked it. So,
Yeah.
but we have our likes and dislikes.
Well,
There's no harm in it.
I like the sense of community in that area, which is gone now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the stores, the market stores, and the occasional speakers and singers, and
Yeah.
yeah.
It's gone, hasn't it? I met Johnny Cash. There's a
Wow.
fella named Blackie. He used to sell bin bags and socks on the court, right on the corner of Owen Owens, Williamson Square.
Yeah.
And he used to sell. I used to always chat to Blackie, and I used to buy me bin bags off him to go home with. Sometimes a pair of socks as well. But anyway, walking down, we looked up, and Blackie went, Johnny Cash. And Johnny Cash, I think he was appearing on Radio City, I think. I'm not quite so sure. But anyway, he was walking down, and he was dead tall. And I said, hello, Johnny. And he went, oh, no. And he said, where's the cabin? He was looking for the cabin.
Wow.
And I brought him down. I said, I'll tell you when it was. I was talking, and I mentioned Elvis. It was a few years after Elvis had died. And I said, the great Elvis dying, and he said, it's Elvis. That's the way he pronounced Elvis. Elvis, it's Elvis. That's tall he was. I didn't realise how tall that man is. But
No.
anyway, I brought him down. But I left him. I had to leave. I was going to. I had to get home, and I left him in Whitechapel. I said, just through there. I said, it's the cabin. Ask anybody. And he said, thank you. And got off. Just walked up. Johnny Cash walking through Liverpool.
Legend.
Absolutely.
It's strange, isn't it? Because Williamson Square used to be a hub when we were younger. When we were going, it's like everything shoots off Williamson Square. But if you're a stranger in town and someone says, "Where's the cavern from here?" which is like 5 minutes, it's quite complicated, isn't it, to get there?
It is. It's very complicated, Liverpool. And it's the worst city in the world to drive.
Yeah.
But you don't know what way to turn.
Yeah. Well, I've never driven, but I am the worst person in the world to give direction, because I'm sitting in the car and I'll say to Lainey or whoever, yeah, just turn left here. I'll turn left here. What time you come?
Go down one way and everything dead ends.
All of that, yeah.
I've done it loads of times myself without anyone telling me to turn left when I was driving. And Edward says, big up Frank and Anthony.
Oh, Edward, thank you.
And Gary says, we have a Covent Garden here as well, off Water Street. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right, it is off Water Street. And you've got a very famous pub there on the corner of it, on the corner of Covent Garden and Chapel Street.
That's a pig.
There you go, the pig.
Pig.
I used to have a bevy in there with Ian St. John.
Wow, it's a
wonderful.
Yeah. When John Gallagher had it. Now he's a fierce red.
Yes. The Anfield Rose joined us. Good evening, Frankie and Anthony. Hope you're both well. I came early and got thrown out. Anyway, I've got the. You must be proud. That's what I've got this with.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was it. Thanks for the Anfield.
I'm not running for any bus after them, but thank you.
The vlogs. Hello, Frank. Try to get on as fast as I could, as I'm in work. Oh, yeah, you know, how lads work. Remember the Punch and Judy in Williamson Square? Yeah, Gary. Yeah. And the first fella to do that was a fella named Mr. Coleman. Punch and Judy. And it was great for even kids, because that was our playground. And we used to watch Punch and Judy.
Yeah.
My kids, you know.
Yeah. Used to pick out the square.
The alligator.
Shocker. With adults and with kids and with everyone. Yeah.
That was, only, as you know, that was our entertainment. Punch and Judy.
How fantastic it was, you know.
Unbelievable. So, yeah, great memory, that, Gary. Great memory. Thank you. And the Anfield says, was Johnny drunk, Frankie? He sounded like it, mate. He did the original anti-Pepto-Bismol advert to Johnny Cash. I don't know, what's the anti-Pepto-Bismol? Is that the Pepsi? It's not a predictive text. Anti-Bismol. It's all about Pepsi. I don't know. But I
you wouldn't
mention this, didn't I? Remember when I said to you, Anthony, you know, when we was talking about music with Derek Shelmerdine?
Yeah.
And I said, no matter what genre of music you like, whether it's heavy rock, whether it's country, whether it's everything, opera, whether it's anything, pop, whether it's in it, everybody loves Johnny Cash.
Yes.
No matter what kind of music, jazz, anything, Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
The blogs. I'm one of the admins on a group on Facebook, Frank, that have 50k following. It's a Time Team fan page, so loads love history. I have just tagged everyone to have a look at your show. Deserve it. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Oh, thanks, mate. Tell them to subscribe. I might get to that magic 1k. I only need 100 I need to get to 1k. And the Liverpool carries out. Hello, Anthony. Hope all is well.
Yes, thank you.
How old is the Pig and Whistle, Frank? Wasn't there a story of some famous going on and not sure if it was Hitler or someone like that? It could have been, but what it was, I think what you're saying, a very famous story. And it used to be, it's gone now, but where it is, I don't know. Where it is, I don't know. And it was all reviewed. I'll just read this out. It's history anyway. It's history. I can't read it because we haven't got me. 1 minute. Anthony, please, 1 minute.
Yeah.
I'll just get me reading glasses because it's only to coincide. I think that's a cracking comment. Just 1 minute, please, Anthony. I'll be as fast as a lobble, as fast as I can.
Right. 60-minute countdown, folks. Love the Pig and Whistle.
Olympic man.
Here you go. Yeah, I love the Pig and Whistle. In modern years, it was just great. Wherever you were in town, we'd end up walking through and going there, like the Hole in the Wall. It's one of them pubs.
Yeah.
You're always guaranteed to meet someone.
Yeah, all the time. And it's only to coincide with what he says there, because there is a story behind
Yeah.
the pig, right? And I'll just read you this. And it comes from a Liverpool newspaper called The Mail.
Okay.
The Mail. The scum of Ireland come to Liverpool and die in their thousands is true. But whose fault is that? Misgovernment in Ireland, idleness on part of the peasantry, and ignorance and extravagance on part of the gentry. The people that come here are not labourers. They are beggars and paupers. They never were labourers. They never did an honest day's work in their lives. They lived by begging, as the Roman Catholic prelate regrets to say they cannot do now. For the potato crop has failed, and when they arrive here, begging is their profession, the workhouse their retreat, the fourpenny loaf per day a certainty, and medical aid, port wine soup, a coffin, and a Christian burial. That was in 1847. This is why like 3.5 million people died from that potato famine.
I hope someone lined him up against the wall.
And that's what was said in the Liverpool Mail on the 6th of November, 1847.
The lack of empathy.
It's a lack of everything, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the way, see, I'm getting back to what the vlog said. Outside used to be a plaque. And it said, no Irish, no Negroes allowed in these premises.
Oh. Oh.
So there you have it.
I never knew that one. I'd never have gone in.
Well, that's what you know, you're going back, you know. You're going back to the 19th century. No Irish, no Negroes, if you think about it. I've got another, another post somewhere, and if you think that's bad, there's another one about the Irish, and it's shocking.
It's
It's
just
saying there is a middle between the Irish and the Negro, and it's a gorilla. So you've got the Irish, a gorilla, and the Negro. I'll dig it out somewhere, and I'll read it out.
I think that's it was our dear friend Michael Kelly who first alerted me that the big book that came out by Professor Borinars, who we've had the displeasure of meeting, big book on Liverpool that he was commissioned.
Yeah, the first 1,000 years.
Yeah. Well, that portrayed what you've just described in there.
Belgium, you're talking about him, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was a disgrace that day when there was me.
Yeah.
Belgium, Jerry Marsden, if you remember, giving a talk
Yeah,
at
we were
that lunchtime in the town hall.
Yeah.
And he got up first, didn't he? And everybody listened to him. And the next was when I got up. Jerry was last, wasn't he? But when I got up, and they did him and his table, these lecturers all got up and walked out.
He did. Yeah.
I
And they
was
went,
stuck in that. Disrespectful.
just get out the way. And
Yeah.
you were brilliant. And the room responded to you.
Oh, the rooms responded. Yeah, responded. Yeah.
It's just like piece of wood.
Yeah.
And he prattled on for about 6 minutes, and then got off. And everyone must have said, "That's gone down like a lead balloon. Let's get out quick."
Yeah. Yeah.
And he did.
No one could understand them, could they?
No.
No one could understand them.
Why would you not respond to a historian who is proudly from the very place that he's talking about? I'm talking about you when you got up and responded, and the whole room was there. It doesn't need some stuff from academia to bring up dredges.
It was just an ordinary day, and people were made up. They didn't know him. No one knew him.
Yeah.
Belgium, but they knew Jerry, of course, and they knew me.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was funny. I was talking to Jerry. This is before we went in. So anyway, they came over to us and said, "You've got to meet the people, meet and greet." I said, "What do you mean?" Well, me and Jerry were just laughing our little heads off, So me and Jerry were standing there meeting and greeting, and we didn't know this Belgian fella. He was. I did a few talks with him, by the way.
Yeah.
I did a few talks, and
did you want to
so up himself? He was so up himself, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way he was.
Mike Kelly hated him.
You remember Dino Sullivan? Dino.
Yeah.
Funny. I gave it talk. And McMahon was there, with Dino.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's not half funny. And it was in the amphitheatre. And no one knows about this amphitheatre. And it's in the museum in Brownlow Hill. Not Brownlow Hill. William Brown Street. Big amphitheatre there in the museum. So anyway, he gave a talk there. He was made John Costello and Belgian. And Dean said, "Are we going for a drink later on, Frank?" I went, "Yeah, I'll go for a drink with you." We go over to Dr. Duncan's, and he said, "Oh, great, okay. See you after that." Well, so anyway, gave the talk, and Dean said, "Who does he think he is? That fella? What kind of words were they he was coming out with?" I said, "I couldn't understand them, Frank." He couldn't understand them, no one else could. He's trying to be funny. Yeah, because we had all these students there, undergraduates. And that's what it was for, more or less. So. But anyway.
And Gino was a teacher as well, so he could spot a ball at 15 yards.
Yeah, I think it was World War II museum up there. Yeah, that's Gary's just answered. Yeah, it's the Western Approaches. The Western Approaches. It's on a DVD, and the Western Approaches is on them actually. Marcus Marr, Triskelion Films. Wow, yeah. Wow. How about that, Marcus Marr? Hey.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Marcus Marr, what a name. The two M's. And he says, Frank Stroke Anthony, I love Liverpool, born an old swan, but grew up in Glasnevin, Dublin. And the Mail article might as well have been written by the modern day Daily Mail. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's a cracking, Marcus. It's a cracking comment. But I've got so much. I used to do lectures about Ireland, and if you ever want to see anything, Marcus, if you're still with us, go onto my site. Just Google me, or Google Padre Cronin, and I did an interview with him. He's Irish, Padre. That's by the name Padre. And I gave an interview about the Irish in Liverpool and all that's in it. All that's in it, the likes of what we in Liverpool thought about the Irish. But it wasn't so much us, it was the English. But, everybody. I don't like talking about it, actually, because this is but everybody hated the Irish. And I mean, without the Irish, there wouldn't have been any canals built. Without the Irish, forget the railway system being built. And that's what you've got to look at. The navvies. And as you know, Marcus, you must know this, that the navvies is a shortened thing of navigators. They navigated everywhere. They were great workers. Great workers. Good shout, that, Marcus. Didn't there used to be a Liverpool Post newspaper? I'm sure I remember it, probably 10 years. Yeah, there was a Liverpool Post and Echo. That's what it used to be. Post and Echo.
Yeah.
And Marcus says, no dogs, no blacks, no Irish, to be exact. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marcus, no. No dogs, no blacks, no Irish. But the Irish was second. Do you know what? We're not even having a break, unfortunately, because Jason's not here. I would have had a break. Normally, it's just show a clip or something for a couple of minutes. And if we would have been having a break, I would have looked for this article that I've got. And it would sicken you. It would sicken Marcus. But I'll have it for next week. Definitely have it for next week. Not one article, there's a few articles. I have done the Irish though, haven't I? David Owens, the Pig and Whistle name for pubs and taverns likely originated from the association of a barrel of beer, the pig, with the act of wetting your whistle, having a drink, wetting one's whistle. The crew bars and the passenger liners were called the Pig and Whistle. Now, he knows, David, because he's an archivist, great historian. Not only that, but he used to go away to say it well. He used to go away to say, so he knows the score. Lovely. Gary says, yeah, the Liverpool Post was going for years. Also, the Pink Echo and the Mersey Mart, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Mersey Mart, yeah. Ah, the Mersey Mart, I'm sure I remember that too, says the blogs.
Yeah.
Great comments, my boys.
Must have only been the past 20 years that it's gone.
Thanks, Frank, I will, says Marcus. And William Brown was also an Irishman from Foxford, County Mayo, who became the leader of the Argentinian Navy.
Yeah. There's many legendary Irishmen from Liverpool, Marcus, and we're proud to know a lot and know about a lot more.
It shows you, doesn't it, that the likes of everyone on there, including Marcus, loves the history of Liverpool.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to history. There really is, what we never get mentioned in any history books.
We don't. And my pet hate, which is absolutely grinding at the moment, I no longer watch TV because of it, is that unless it's bad news, i.e. murders, um, Liverpool does not get a mention in any news program. It's the centre of the north is Manchester, which is
But
not
what Manchester wanted to do, and I'm just talking very recently, by the way, they wanted to have, on all cars in the northwest,
yeah,
like, the license, where the license number goes and that. They wanted a letter M as, for Manchester, you know. And I thought, the cheeky bleaters, why, Then they wanted at the same time, where we've got 0151 and Manchester has 0161.
yeah,
Well, they wanted to be 0151 and Liverpool to be 0161. That's what they're like, Manchester.
just
And, they haven't got a patch on Liverpool, historically. I was on Sky Sports once. They asked me to do an interview with player Man United. And they said, will you come on? And I went, yeah, all right. So I gave this interview. And it wasn't about like Liverpool. It was about the rivalry between Manchester, without football, but it was coming up to the big game, Liverpool and Man United. And he said, was there ever a rivalry, like even before football? I said, yeah. And I mentioned about the cotton trade. And I mentioned about the Liverpool Manchester Canal. I said, because Liverpool, without Liverpool, Manchester would have starved. We got the cotton mills going because they had to come in here. And we said, all right, look, to save you, coming down here, we build a canal to Manchester from here. So they said, all right. So they built a Liverpool to Manchester canal to bring all the cotton up there, the ship.
yeah,
Now we did that. And they thought, oh, that's great, this, because, we won't have to pay them now, for docking and getting it, unloading the cotton and sending it up there. But we weren't soft, he said, but we've got to weigh the cotton as soon as it comes in. We're going to weigh the cotton and you'll have to pay by weight. Great that, isn't it? So, they still have to pay.
it's a crazy thing, territorial thing. I mean, years ago in the 80s and stuff, when I used to play music more, I used to play in Manchester and here, and there was no toxic banter at all. But yeah, in modern years, it's got and TV and media, the BBC in particular, just do my head in with
Well, you've got to. They've got Studio City, haven't they, which is in Salford.
yeah.
But then you've got the likes of. Remember when we had Richard and Judy down at the Albert Dock?
Yes.
And they just got rid of it. ITV just got rid of it.
Yeah.
And it used to be a fantastic backdrop
Yeah.
onto the Mersey. And that's the shame of it. Liverpool, no matter what, it's always getting squeezed
Out.
all the time. And the vlog says, I love that we have more history than Manchester, Frank. But just out of curiosity, did Manchester also have its own castle by any chance? I've never heard of a castle in Manchester.
No.
Never heard of a castle in Manchester vlogs. And Marcus says, probably not the same William Brown, because he was Irish, by the way. You know, he did come from an Irish background, William Brown.
Yeah.
And William Brown was one of the greatest, shall we say, not like as in philanthropy, like in David Lewis, if you know what I mean. Because David Lewis was the greatest of all philanthropists, as along with our own Scouser, which was the great man, the greatest, who's known as the greatest Liverpudlian.
Wow.
William Roscoe.
Yes.
William Roscoe.
Yeah.
Great philanthropist. And when you think that what he did, William Brown, when the library opened and the Walker Gallery, paintings, books, everything he gave to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, look. William Brown in Liverpool was an Irishman from County Antrim. Amazing. Well, I knew that he had an Irish background.
Yeah, fantastic. And there's more, Marcus. There's many more Irish heroes in Liverpool. Many more. I mean,
Yep.
there's buildings which have long gone now. One of the most famous I remember hearing about but never seen was the pub, the Morning Star, which was Dandy Pat.
Scotland Place. That's where I grew up.
Yeah.
The Morning Star. We used to have a 98 shop after the war, you know, like 1698.
Brilliant.
And it was called the 98. And I always remember the fella who ran it. And his wife, his name was Dermot.
Wow.
Dermot. 98 shop, Scotland Place. The Morning Star was just over the road from it, you know, the bottom of Richmond Road, put it that way.
Yeah. And I just remember the name, legendary, Pat Byrne, Dandy Pat.
Dandy Pat. Well, he has a monument, didn't he? Dandy Pat in Scotland Place.
Yeah.
Which is what he did for the Irish.
Yeah, absolutely, Frank, absolutely. And he became councillor, didn't he, or council leader at one time. Yeah. And the monument to him, or what's left of it, because again,
it got restored, didn't it, a few years ago? But I don't know what happened to it. I don't even know where it is.
Well, half of it is at the back on the grounds of St. Anthony's Church.
Really?
Yeah, and it's at in the back of the church. And Mike Kelly worked with a small bunch of people, and someone found him, brother like yourself, and the work you've done over the years. Surprising the number of, I would call them heirlooms, are passed that end up in someone's skin.
Heritage.
Because people think, no, get rid of that, put a car park there. And so that's where the Dandy Pat Memorial went. And they could only save, I think it was 1/3 or 2/3 of it. And so in about 2004 or 3, it was rehoused at the back of St. Anthony's Church.
Oh, well, as long as something of it's there, because I've got a photograph, so I can't go through it now. There's a very famous photograph. Now, if Jason was in, it showed, he put it up. and there's a very famous photograph of the little monument, and you see kids playing on.
Wow.
You know, it's going back to what I think at the 20s or the 30s that these kids playing on it. And that was right in Scotland Place. And as you said about the Morning Star, a very famous pub for the Irish.
When was that pulled down, Frank? Do you know?
Well,
The history of the pub. When was it pulled down? Was it again the 70s, 80s?
yeah, just I think it was the late 60s, early 70s. The Morning Star was no more. There used to be great little pubs around it.
Should be a museum. All of those places.
Listen, once they pulled down Commutation Row, and right in the middle was the very first blind school in the world. Edmund Rushton. And you're talking like 1794. First blind school in the entire world. Because Edmund Rushton wanted to do something for people who were blind.
Yeah. And
the
same as Willie Roscoe, the same as Dandy Pat, the same as all these guys.
Yeah. It's look, where you're at the Irish Quarter, when our lot came over, the Italians, look, everybody goes to the nearest, not being funny, the nearest church, the nearest denomination to them. They always do. So they said, where's the nearest denomination? So they went to a place called Gerrard Street. And that was the Irish Quarter. But Gerrard Street then, there was a couple of other streets like Circus Street and Perlow Street. And that all became Little Italy.
Just beautiful. And the most beautiful gift that those wonderful people gave the world, not just Liverpool, was music.
Oh, you had the sea shanties of the Irish. And you had when my family came over, they had barrel organs. I no one had seen anything like that. And I think the old girl said to me, what was it? I think my great-grandmother, Maria Gracci Vallanti, she had her husband, Gaetano. He had one of the music things that you wind up, not a barrel organ, but a little music thing, and played Caruso. So you had the opera, you had colour, you had cuisine, and you had the Irish sea shanties. And sorry to say this, but when someone died, the wakes came about then, because that was an Irish thing, the wake, where you go and pay your respects. But after they were buried, the celebrations went on for weeks. Someone's dead. Okay, get up there, they just enjoyed themselves. And I was always dragged to someone's house, where there was a wake, it was a little mad kid, sitting there, they're all drinking, they're all, oh, lovely fella, or a lovely, lovely. She was wonderful, wasn't she, Mrs. O'Rourke,
Way to go. A way to go. That's just, and we talked and we've been through it and we've met the phonies and we've met the wonderful people, but be given the title of City of Culture. We've always had culture. Well, it's well before we were born, and with the Irish and the Italians, God bless them, and the Germans and the Chinese and everything, a melting pot. We've said
the very first community to come into Liverpool 1826 was the Chinese. The Chinese.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's something that people don't even understand. Not saying our lads here and girls, not saying that. But let me just tell you something about the Chinese and the Italians. We all know that the Irish were always coming over, but only like just a few at a time. And there was also like others coming over to get to the New World, like in 1794 again. That's 1794 is a mad year, you know, because of the likes of poets, the likes of William Blake and Songs of Innocence and Experience, where he was talking about kids being victimized and abused in his Songs of Innocence and Experience.
Yeah.
And you had the same year. You had the likes of Kitty Wilkinson coming over. She was coming over to get to Liverpool so her family could go over to America. And this is what loads were doing, loads of Irish. They were coming into Liverpool to get to America, the New World, like loads of other migrants coming into Liverpool.
To flee the British.
Well, you know all about Kitty. And unfortunately, the ship that she was on as a child, a 10-year-old little girl, and a little sister, not a sister, a brother, and a little baby in arms with a mother and a dad who was the breadwinner, floundered. He drowned. The baby was swept away out of the mother's arms. And what she went through, when she got, they had to come into Liverpool, obviously, you know, they floundered into Liverpool. Yeah. And her, Kitty, and her little sister was they sent up to Lancaster to a cotton mill to work for a workhouse as a 10-year-old. The mother, who just lost her whole family, the breadwinner, and she was institutionalized there in Liverpool. But Kitty, that resilient, wonderful Irish girl, when she was 20, she made her way back, seeking her mother out. Seeking her mother out. He was also institutionalized. And what she did for Liverpool was incredible.
Yeah.
That woman.
Yeah.
Incredible. And as I said, I've always said the likes of Kitty Wilkinson, the likes of Agnes Jones, the likes of Mary Bamber, you know, these Liverpool people, you know, that did so much for Liverpool. They're my heroines of all time.
Mothers of
you know, but besides that was one of the greatest heroines. There are two that resonate with me. They've always have done. And I'm not talking about those lovely, lovely ladies who I've just mentioned. One goes back to Queen Cartamandua of the Briganti tribe during the Roman invasion, right? The Claudian invasion. And the other one is Mary Wollstonecraft. Mary Wollstonecraft.
Yeah.
Because she wanted the emancipation of women.
Yeah.
She was one of these women who say, you know, what about us? Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
And she was married. She has a couple of kids, but she never ever married. She said, what do I want to get married for? I love children. What do I want to get married for? But anyway, she was heavily pregnant with a newborn. So she married this Godwin. I always forget this fella's first name, you know. So she married Godwin. So she became Mary Godwin. 3 days later, after the marriage, she gave birth because she wanted to give the child a name. And that little child became Mary Godwin after the mother. And Mary Godwin as she got a little bit older, married Percy Bysshe Shelley. Percy Bysshe Shelley. So she became Mary Shelley, who wrote the very first science fiction book.
Yeah.
Frankenstein.
Amazing.
Prometheus Unbound. That's the full title.
Yeah.
Frankenstein. Prometheus Unbound. And this is what you get, you know. I love Queen Carterman too, but I embrace Kitty, Agnes, and Mary Bamber, who was the mother of none other than Bessie Braddock.
Yeah.
And during the 1911 general strike here in Liverpool, Mary Bamber, she was going around giving tea, soup, bread to everybody, the workers who were on strike, because they had nothing. And she was also, as a little daughter, 12-year-old daughter, to going around doing the same, helping people. And that was Bessie Braddock. That's why Bessie was one of the great socialist MPs in modern times.
In history, yeah, absolutely.
You know, so I just love our girls. I tell you, I really love them. Not that they love me now, like,
but what you've ticked in those wonderful stories, certainly about the Liverpool, but also globally, is that spirit against adversity, that fight, which I think sums up the Liverpool psyche. Scousers are like that. Together in adversity.
yeah.
They don't kowtow to anyone. You know.
Yeah. The vlogs, just found that, Frank, on a quick search, but it was a proper castle, like ours, but just a manor house. It was wooden. Wooden. You're talking about Manchester, right? And Marcus says, the Morning Star, was it a radical socialist left-wing newspaper? Yeah, of course it was.
Was a pub, Marcus. It was a public house where Dandy Pat Byrne, the proprietor, would always try and make sure that the Irish workers either got a day's work and got some food. It was kind of like a temple to humanity. And I wish I was alive, born at a time where I could have gone in there. I heard so much about it through my family, and there should be a plaque or there should be something. But as you know, through Frank has campaigned for years for worthy things that there should be here still, and they're not. Falls on deaf ears. But yeah, to the paper.
I think one of the most tragic things about places coming down, and you know, we're talking about architecture, and I think you'll agree with me. Do you ever remember the ice cold storage place in Williamson Square, where the Liverpool shop is now in Williamson Square? You know, where the fountain is. And what was there? What was there was the Theatre Royal. Now, the Theatre Royal was a great theatre.
Wow.
And Sarah Siddons, they had Sarah Bernard, they had all the greats there, all the great actors, you know, during the Shakespeare thing.
Yeah.
They had even, I tell you who acted there. And you go, wow, who acted there, Anthony? Was Charles Dickens himself, because he was an amateur actor. And he loved coming to Liverpool anyway, you know, to give his penny readings. But he acted there at the Theatre Royal. Franz Liszt played his music there. And I always forget what composition he wrote, half of it here in Liverpool, by appearing in the Theatre Royal. You see what I mean? There was another fellow who will talk about. No, I'm going to talk about him when I'm doing the American Civil War. I'll give you the clue, his name. And he was a great actor, this fella. And people loved him. People loved him. You know the way we love Drew Schofield?
Yeah.
That's great, And this fella was loved as well. Everybody used to wave to him. And he used to wave back. My friends, how I embrace you, my friends. Go ye well, my friends, go ye well. See you tonight on the Very well. And his name, that's what he used to go around doing this, honestly, it's not exaggeration. And he used to love his people. Honestly, he really, truly loved his people, and he used to go around doing all this and hello, my dear friends. Really thespian. Really thespian. You can't get any much thespian. Do you know, like the last? I'll just tell you something in a moment. It just reminded me then. Do you know the last words of Lord Olivier, Larry Olivier? I love Olivier. Do you know what his last words were? When he was dying, do you know what they were? My darling, this is not Hamlet. Laurence Olivier, my darling, this is not Hamlet. Shakespeare has to be mentioned while he was dying. Unbelievable. But this fella, he used to go around, everybody loved him. And his name was Julius Brutus Bede. Julius Brutus. Think about the name, Julius Brutus. Julius Caesar, Brutus. So, but I'll give you more about him when I'm talking about the American War of Independence. Not the American War of Independence, I'm sorry, the American Civil War. Because
his story does not end with him, does it?
No, it doesn't end with him. But there's a big saying, as you know. Incredible. I was saying to these Americans, and as I said, about when I always get these Americans, and I just say there's more history with Liverpool, the city of Liverpool, than any other, with America than any other connection, I always say, than any other European city. And when I tell them that, they go, really? Really? Yeah. It's amazing. They go, wow.
Yeah. Well, it's not a cool time to be American, really, is it?
Well, you just heard Joe, haven't you? I'm doing a pod. I'm not a pod. I'm doing a Zoom with her because she was very worried, and I was talking to her last night. I just texted, and she is worried. And I said, just that stupid adage, isn't it? Don't jump out of the frying pan into the fire. I said, look, we'll talk. We'll have a Zoom. That's why I said to her, you just name the time, day, and we'll have a Zoom. So she said, will do. She's lovely. See, anyone who helps me, I try to help her. And she tried to help me. She did. a couple of years, I was going through a shocking time, Anthony. And she said, get over to me. Get over here. And it was funny, actually, because I said, no, I said, I'll stick it. I don't like long haul, to be honest. Or I would have gone. She was living in Hollywood at the time. And she said, get over to me, stay here. I said, I've got a radio show to do. She said, you don't be worrying about that. I'll get Jimmy Kimmel to, you can use his studio. And I went, oh, okay, yeah, thanks. I didn't know who Jimmy Kimmel was. And I said to her, Francine, I said, have you ever heard of Jimmy Kimmel? She went, Dad, haven't you heard of him? I said, no. She's one of the biggest talk show hosts in America, if not the biggest. I haven't a clue. Me. I only know where Queen Carter Manzua, Mary Wollstonecraft, Kitty Wilkinson, Mary Bamber.
Well, that's the beauty of history, it educates.
And Marcus says, was the Irish Quarter, not Scotland Road? Yeah, the Irish Quarter, that's what I meant to say before. I'm sorry, I never finished up. When the Italians went over, they would say, well, where's the church? The nearest church was St. Anthony's.
Yeah.
And Holy Cross. So St. Anthony's and Holy Cross, because Catholicism, and that's where the Irish lived.
Yeah.
That's where the Irish lived. And I'll tell you a great little story. You've been to St. Francis Xavier's, haven't you, up in Shrewsbury Street?
Yeah.
Right. It's a beautiful church. Beautiful. Absolutely stunning church. And what had happened was the Irish and the Italians, they were all like coming in, they were all converging, around the Scotland Road, but they were going, say, like, there's Scotland Road there, and there's inland. So they were all moving away because there was that many. They were all moving out, further and further, say, like, up to Shaw Street. So they were spreading up, And there was 4 Irish lads in the Rose and Crown. Oh, you know where the Rose and Crown is?
Yeah, the old jail.
Yeah, the old jail. So they were having a bevy. And they see that they went out, one of them went out, I think that fella over there is I think he's an architect. He builds buildings. So they said, well, shut him up. So anyway, they called him over. J.J. Scholes. So he came over. He said, what can I do for you, gentlemen? And he said, could you build us a church? And he said, like that. So he said, well, what kind of church? And this fellow went like that. He must have been a good drawer. And he went like that on a tablecloth. Because you had tablecloths in those days, in pubs. So he drew it. He said, can you do something like that? And he said, well, what's that there? And it was like I love saying this, if I'm ever there and I see someone or whatever, because they're always having either in St. Anthony's or St. Francis, when someone passes on from our community, you always have the masses there, the Requiem masses. And anyway, I love showing people it. And it's around the thing, what this fella did, this Irish fella. So she always went, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do it for you. And they paid him, these 4 wealthy businessmen. Yeah. And it was for, the Irish and the Italians as well. So that they could go to church instead of traipsing all the way down either to St. Anthony's or Holy Cross and St. Sylvester's as well now, because you have St. Silly's, Our Ladies.
Yeah.
of Eldon Street down there. So, you had all these churches, and it was a long trip. So they decided to build a church for them. And that big round thing that comes out, and I love showing them. Do you know what it is? What this fella did? Do you know Notre Dame in Paris?
Yeah.
He wanted it round like that. And he said, I'll do that. He said, no problem. So a part of Saint Francis is like copied of
From Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Wow, amazing! And what an amazing chance meeting.
Yeah.
In
the Rose and Crown, yeah.
Of it, wow.
It's funny how see, I've always said people get inspired by other people, especially architects. They get inspired by other people's work. Everybody's inspired by other people's work.
We do.
If you know what I mean.
And the idea, well, the golden rule is that we all need to be inspired by things to wake up in the morning to go and do something. But the golden rule is you don't religiously copy and paste someone else's work.
No.
You don't, which never really used to happen. But unfortunately, in modern times, there's no standard, really. There's no objective voice to say, that's too much like Frank Carlyle's, that you change it. There's none of that. And we live in a world of fakery, whether it's art, music, literature, film, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you've got as well, as I said, people are inspired. Do you know the writers today? Writers, write things, pictures and whatever. They're always greatly inspired by Shakespeare. Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's, without Shakespeare, you wouldn't get what you've got today, to be honest. But with wokeness, in my opinion, the turning away from like traditional, what we're used to, and the trying to change from. I don't know. I don't want to get into that now, but it's just the way I am. I want to get on to what David's saying. I was trying to research where Walton Hall was located. Like I always thought it was facing St. Michael's Church, but it was on Walton. Yeah. The actual hall was near Walton Hall Avenue. Yeah. It was in the park there, Wally Hall Park. That's why it was called Walton Hall Park. That's where the hall was. Because you had an avenue. It was only a little avenue at the time. It was called Walton Hall. Then they widened it. Walton Hall Avenue, which is quite big now. So you're right there, the vlogs, right? You're right, mate. I love that. And David, not forgetting the Welsh influence. The large community is filled with store owners, Owen Owens and C.J. Hughes, and the holding of the Welsh Eisteddfod on 2 occasions. I wonder why he brought that up. I wonder if it's something to do with his name.
Because we mentioned the Italians and the Irish. So, but not the Welsh. The Welsh were such an important part of that area of our cultural rebirth. And the Welsh.
Do you know where the community was? And people say like, oh, it was down by. Was it the Welsh Streets? No, it wasn't the Welsh Streets. It was Pall Mall. That's where the Welsh community was. And most Welsh couldn't speak English because it was fully blown Welsh they spoke.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
actually made their community, and so, you know, as what David's saying there, you know, these were great builders. All the slate that was on the roofs here during the 19th century came from the Welsh
From North Wales.
slates, yeah.
Yeah.
And every time it rained, you know, it was like a blue.
Yeah.
It was a blue, you know, a lovely.
Now as the utmost superior quality stuff. Where we live, we live in a what the remnants of Victorian houses and stuff, the church and everything. There's not many of them left now, but
No.
all the roofs in, I think ours was 1866, 1856, were made, and the whole area was Welsh slate on the roofs, churches, because it was made to last, and it has done for hundreds of years. Yeah.
You've got to understand that you know these Welsh, as I said, you know, loads of them they couldn't speak English, so they opened their own shops, and they said they couldn't. Do you know what it's like? I'll give you an example. See, you and I went to Turkey. I don't like Erdogan, by the way. Political. I'm being political. Don't like him. Say like we went to Turkey and we changed our money into lira. We'd never have a clue the amount of lira. I always remember when I went over to a place called Kusadasi, and I only wanted to get to a place called Ephesus. I only wanted to see this Roman town, which was absolutely fantastic, by the way. So I went there, and my ex-wife now, we was walking out. I said, "I'm so thirsty." And she said, "Well, yeah, I'll go in and get some. This is through this. Get some water." So I went, "Yeah, all right." As you do, I'll just go in. And I went, "I'll have one of them, you know, big bottle of water." And I went, "No, give me another one as well." Because she has one of them big bags. So anyway, he got 2 bottles of water, and I went, "Here." And she was standing next to me. I said, "Here, keep the change." Do you know what? I gave him the equivalent of 50 quid. And Julie went, "What are you doing?" The fellow went like that. Millionaire, he's a millionaire. You know, little fella. And anyway, she said, no. So she grabbed it back off him, and she went through her purse, you know, whatever she had, and a bum bag, and went like that, and she just gave him like these little bits of coins. She said, "Do you know how much that?" I made her outside. Then she held the money afterwards, after that. Always held the money. So
language can be a barrier.
Yeah, so the language, I'm glad you reminded me there, because I forgot to be train of thought. So what it was, the Welsh actually printed their own money. Because, you know, the ordinary people who spoke Welsh didn't understand English at all and going into shops. And so they started to open their own shops and they printed their own money. The Welsh. That was in the 1840s now.
We need to do that now. Scouse money.
So thanks, David. As you know, as I said, I was just talking about the Irish and the Italians living next to one another, and they intermarried. You know, they intermarried. Marcus says, "I think Liverpool's musical heritage was influenced by the Irish and African heritage." Heritage.
Yeah, and the Welsh and the Italians. It's just a mixing pot. But I think the art of storytelling certainly came big to Liverpool from Scotland and Ireland, and
Norway.
yeah,
Norway
there's
was a
that
great influence of storytelling.
of sharing, you
Yeah.
know, stories and sharing a history, and that's what we
See,
became.
when the Irish were coming over, the musical things, it was really the Irish sea shanty.
Yeah,
That was really the music that was going on. And then you got the musical instruments then.
yeah,
You got the likes of the concertinas.
yeah,
They used to go on board ships.
yeah.
So
Same,
really, it was started with the Irish.
same as Scotland as well, because they're still there now. If we
But they
catch,
did the bagpipes. The Irish did the bagpipes first. No, it
yeah,
wasn't. You know who it was? Do you know who did the bagpipes first? I'm going to surprise you. It wasn't the Irish or the Scottish. And when I found out, I'm talking years ago, it was the bloody French.
the French,
The,
yeah,
the French had the first bagpipes.
yeah.
Mad, isn't it?
Wow. It's just, but again, you're talking about influence before, and this is how we all, I mean, music is the greatest language, universal language, which we all understand. So we can
Yeah.
go somewhere, get a drink, sit in the corner, not talk to anyone, but the minute the music plays and people participate, you know, stamping your feet,
Well,
that's a magic and a language of its own.
it is a magic of it.
Yeah. Kitty.
And Gary says, I know that we've got to catch up because of us talking. Anthony, I could go on about the prejudices against Liverpool. I've watched it get worse every year. So many examples. That's why we never get mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, Gary, and it's a shame. And I think I personally feel I've reached an age now where enough is enough. I won't listen to their waffle anymore.
And Marcus says, indeed, Anthony, when you lose a place, you lose its collective memory, its soul, and its heritage. That's a cracking comment. When we knocked down, as I said, the Theatre Royale, it was shocking. We also knocked down another great that David Lewis built, and it was for the poor. He built two hospitals, the Northern and the Royal Southern Hospital, for the poor, David Lewis. And he also built a theatre, the John Lewis Theatre, which was down by the Anglican Cathedral there.
Yeah.
And they knocked that down.
They
They
knocked it.
knocked it
And
They knocked, I'm going to go right back, I'm sorry there. They knocked this down. This is what you call criminality. This is what you call criminality, people. Just let me get it. No. Maybe jumped her. Why did he message me? Let me just get this. I don't want to go right through. No, it's not there, unfortunately. I did have it, I'm sure I was on here last week. No. I'm sorry about this, people. I just want to show you something. No, I haven't got it. I really thought I had it. No, I haven't got it. When we knocked down the Sailor's Home,
Oh,
the Sailor's Home, that was the most disgraceful thing.
that was
Because
so.
people, you know, right from when it was built in 1841, how many wars went up? And people went in there and came out of there never to come back. You had the armed forces going in and out. Lads who never came back through bloody wars.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And this is what it was all about.
yeah.
And they knocked it down in 1974. And they built nothing on the site. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful building. Beautiful. And that was criminal. John Cunningham, a fellow named John Cunningham, designed and built it in 1841.
Just beautiful. Ornate enough to be a palace.
Exactly the, you know, it's so, it angers me actually. Gary Rigby. Where exactly was Little Italy in Liverpool? Where I grew up. It was between, tell you where it was. It was between Scotland Road, Scotland Place, as we were mentioning there before, where the Morning Star was. And there used to be a place called Richmond Row. And Richmond Row, I told you about Mark Spitzer's nephew, didn't I? Phoning me up. And he was writing a book about the Beatles. And he said, can you tell me anything about Paul McCartney? I said, yeah. And I told him that Paul McCartney lived at the top of Richmond Row in a place called Solver Street. His granddad. And he used to play a clarinet. And there was a little bandstand up there. And he used to go in and play the clarinet. And now he used to earn money or a little bit of a living. He used to go down Richmond Row and go to a place called Breen's. And it was a tobacco warehouse. Never forget it. It was red brick. I was a kid. Disused now, you know, when I was a kid. But he used to go down there, McCartney's granddad, and buy tobacco. And, you know, that leafy tobacco that you made cigars with. So he used to make cigarettes and cigars. That's how he did his living. McCartney's granddad.
Wow.
And this fella, Spitzer's nephew, I forget his name, he was amazed. He said, did he? I said, yeah. He said, he was writing a book about, never sent me a book, like, thanked me and said, oh, thank you, I'll be in touch. You know. I don't know whether he wrote it or what. Just don't know. Fed up now. I just get fed up, you know. Just get fed up so easy. Fascinating, Frank. Wow, a pub can always make inspired decisions. Yeah, of course. Of course. Anyone can be inspired by everybody. Everybody. It's like, I always go on about Franz Liszt coming to Liverpool. Two Americans didn't like Liverpool, yet they were synonymous with writings. That was Nathaniel Hawthorne, who was a consul, an American consul here, but he was afraid of Liverpool. He was afraid of Liverpool, and he was walking around, you know. And he wrote the Scarlet Letter about Puritan times and this girl being pregnant to a minister, you know, one of these great preachers, you know, Puritan preachers. And he was having an affair with this girl who was unmarried, and she became pregnant. So, and you know, to punish her, he put a scarlet letter on a dress, every dress she had, and it was A, the letter A for adulteress. So he wrote that, this Nathaniel Hawthorne, and he said, I don't like Liverpool. The other fella was Melville. When he was here in Liverpool, he was looking around. I don't like this place. He was afraid of it. He was afraid. And he went around, it's funny, he went around that everyone gets bloody. He was going around Nelson's monument and he went, look at these slaves here, you know. Sorry, Mr. Wasn't. They're not slaves. One of the greatest myths that is Liverpool. And Gary says, I remember the David Lewis building, Frank. Shocking, Gary. Shocking. Oh, that's the North. The North. Oh, yeah. Indeed, Mark is very strong in Tipperary, you mean. And send you some photos I found, Frank, of Walton Hall. Probably seen them all, but just in case. What a lovely building. Thank you, vlogs. I'll have a look at that later on if you don't mind. I can't do it now because I'm about to finish. It's after 10. Do you know what, Anthony? You know that I have terrible sleep patterns.
Yeah.
I haven't slept since yesterday, you know.
Wow.
I haven't slept. I slept before. I never went to bed or anything. And
you did well to wake up then, Frank.
Yeah, I did. I just woke up, and as I said, and I went, well, it's just started it. I was looking for you. I said,
wow.
So I started it. And then I only started it for a minute.
Wow.
And Darryl, you know, it turns it off right away, but then he had to get hold of Jason. And Darryl sent me a message. He said, Frank, what happened? I thought you were on. And I said, it starts at 8. He must have heard, you know, like, or he must have got a notification.
He was logged in at 7.
Yeah. No, I think he just heard the notification because everybody knew that it was starting at 8 tonight. Anyway, I've just got to thank Mr. Brown. How wonderful.
Thank you, Frank. As ever, a journey.
But we always, I should have mentioned, honestly, I'm awfully sorry. I wanted to, we never got through. I wanted to talk about this fella.
You know what? If that was saved with you, that would be a great offer show one time.
Yeah, Anthony, honestly.
Yes, gentlemen.
Yeah, because I want to do Napoleon.
Yeah.
Because he was crowned, and he crowned himself actually in 1804.
Yeah.
1804. But you know the stories that you get about him.
Yeah.
See, I've always said about propaganda. This nation has always had a propaganda machine, and they used to make fun of him.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get Jason to do something for me, and I'll prove it. They were making fun of him. Now, don't forget, we've always hated other nations. We hated the Spanish, didn't we? We hated the French, hated the Russians, still hate the Russians. It's pathetic. And it's all through propaganda.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to do The Great Man.
Yeah.
This is why I want to do it.
That picture itself, I did a bit of research on them. That is regarded as propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, 5 of that portrait were painted by the same guy, because one went to Venice, one went to Milan, one went somewhere else, and Napoleon didn't pose for it.
No.
But he liked the idea of it being requested by different nations, because he was formidable character, and not
Well, what'll be I'm going to talk about a certain battle next week, and we'll be back on Wednesday, next week. But if Liverpool are playing on the which I doubt now, but just in case, we'll come on a Monday.
You just let me know.
Come on a Monday.
I'll be there.
I know you will. And
that you and I grew up with of Napoleon in our beautiful walk at Art Gallery.
Yes.
Regarded as one of the finest and truest representation of history.
Yeah.
That is not propaganda. It's painting as was.
Yeah. And Christian, look at that name, DeWitt. Not a great name. Why the hell would anyone hate Russia? Listen to my show on. I do a current affairs every Friday, 7:00, and just listen out for that for Fridays, and I talk about everything and what's going on. Gary the Rigby. Good night, guys. See you Thursday. Thank you, Gary. No, see me tomorrow night. I've got a Liverpool vlog, and I'm doing a watch along on Wednesday night, the Liverpool Everton game, which will be fun. Gary. Good night, all. Brilliant as ever. Good night, all. Brilliant as ever, says the blogs.
Good night, vlogs. Thank you.
I'll just leave you with this. Why the hell would anyone hate Russia? It goes back to battles. And if you're with us next week, you'll find out more of why. Why? When I'm talking about the nap. Napoleon, that is. And I just want to thank Gap Painting Services for the sponsoring the Frank Carlyle show. Please, 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 if you're an NHS worker, get them in. Don't struggle. If you're an elderly person, please get them in. Don't struggle, because you get a special discount. And if you're not one of those people, they're very reasonable. Just do not struggle. Like me, and I fell back and broke my bloody neck. That's what I did. And I even had black hair then. And look at me now. I only wear a black pullover. But anyway, it's just for me to say a big thank you, great big thank you to the man there, my good friend, international artist, Anthony Brown. And you'll always find Anthony's work on, if you just Google Anthony Brown art. That's all you've got to do. And see Anthony's work, wonderful work. Jason, got to thank Jason, the producer, for setting everything up. And also the most important people I've got to thank are you.
Yeah.
For joining Anthony and myself. Thank you so much. And if you're all into football, I'll see you tomorrow night. Liverpool, that is. Liverpool Football Club. The podcast, which is a pre-match Everton game, the derby on Wednesday. And if you're not there tomorrow night, I'll be doing a watch along where you'll see me acting daft and swearing and kicking the telly and everything. So you'll be seeing me. And if failing that, I'll see you all on Friday. Because after the match on Wednesday, I'll be doing a post-match. I'll be doing a little pre-match leading up to the kick-off on Wednesday. But I'll be doing a pre-match tomorrow night in full. But a pre-match nevertheless on the Wednesday leading up to the kick-off. And a post-match after it. So then I'll see you all on, whoever, on the current affairs, where I'll be talking about what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on with flip-flop Trump, as we call him, or as I call him, and also with Starmer, the old kitten, but Ursula, those nutters in Brussels. So I'll be talking about it. And on Saturday morning, that's Friday night, 7 o'clock, Saturday morning, the film and TV review. If you can get through the film. It's just crazy. Oh, look at that. There's a bit of Irish. There's a bit of Gaelic.
Yeah.
Don't forget that the English put that underground. The culture. They put the Irish culture underground. They had to go underground. They did it to the Welsh. They did it to the Scottish as well.
Yeah.
Underground. And they always do it. And it's exactly what Zelensky wanted to do in Ukraine to the Russian language. Strip all away their culture. Strip away their culture. Strip away their language. Strip away everything for the Russian-speaking people in Ukraine. And they call them Untermenschen. This is what they call them, Untermenschen. The Ukrainians, the Russians, Russian-speaking people. And that means subhuman. Look at it, German. So anyway, I'm not talking about that now. So if you want to join me, Friday, 7 o'clock, current affairs, before I get banned, I will get banned. And it's just for me to say a big thank you. Thank you so much. Poor Frank's absolutely knackered. Anthony's knackered. And I'll see you soon, Anthony. Have you enjoyed it?
I have loved it, Frank. Always do. And there's never a time we've talked or talked with the guys that I've not learned, and I love that more than anything.
They're all been great tonight, haven't they?
Yeah.
Absolutely great.
Oh, some wonderful reminders of what we've forgotten we had,
And don't forget to subscribe. Just get the algorithm out there. That's all. And I've just got to thank you all so much again. And Frank's time for a cup of tea. Because we didn't have a break, did we? Because of Jason. I'll have to sack him. No, he'll sack me. And I'm just finishing now. So, ci vediamo. A domani sera. Ciao. Ciao bella tutti.
Thanks, Marcus. Thanks, everyone.